talking about time again and the way that the exhibition is outlaid, and particularly the way the book is outlaid, is there's sort of a reverse chronology. We start with a lot of recent images of war or conflict, and then in the book in particular, and then it kind of, it goes from 20 years, 40 years, 99 years, and in the exhibition I think it's a bit more sort of placed around. But was there a particular reason for doing the chronology in this sort of...
Well, we thought that the idea of, one thing I have to say is, going back to the Vonnegut thing, what his solution to the problem of memory is to have his protagonist come unstuck in time. So memorably he says, Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. We thought, what would it be like for the visitor to come unstuck in time? You go into a room, what kind of room could you go into where you would see Vietnam, Hiroshima, Afghanistan and Iraq in the same moment? And it seemed that idea of having moments later, days later, weeks later, could enable us to do that. So the first room, in fact, you see, first of all, Afghanistan now, then you see Hiroshima, which is years ago, then you see Vietnam, and then you see Iraq. And I think that's super interesting. It's a different way of thinking about conflict. But the overall effect of that is that, as you say, you start with more recent things because more recent photographs are taken after more recent events. But at the end, as you go further on during the show, you're always looking backwards, further and further. So towards the end of the show, it's more of the Second World War, then there's like the Spanish Civil War, then there's more of the First World War. So you really start to understand, and we thought it was great that you would finish with the First World War, which is what people are thinking about now.
And within that too, because that work would be by Chloe Du Matthews, the body of work where she was visiting execution grounds. It's Shot at Dawn?
Shot at Dawn, yeah.
So it's a World War I execution grounds for, people who wouldn't fight? Was this?
Yeah, it was what would have been called then cowardice, people deserting their own side and running away. But now it's understood in a much more complex way as, post-traumatic stress disorder, people who are literally too debilitated to fight. And those people executed by their own side. It's a very kind of a controversial aspect of the First World War, obviously. And her project, she goes at dawn, taking the shoot metaphor of photography or whatever. She goes at dawn to the places where people were executed and takes a picture in the exact same place at the same time. It's a very moving body of work, and it's interesting and important, I think, that there are quite a few younger artists in the show. There's Chloe, there's Agata Medeska, whose work is also in the last room, who are really thinking about the First World War. And I think it's important, actually, that the idea of memory and conflict isn't restricted to the usual candidates, the usual suspects of photography, and we are able, in a show like this, to introduce newer work, both through research and trying to understand who's making interesting work right now.